Hey, Shalom, Israel. Brother Reggie Jr. here. So today, guys, we're going to be reading Deuteronomy Chapter 6. Just picking up where I left off from last time, guys. And this is just simply a continuation of Deuteronomy Chapter 4 and Deuteronomy Chapter 5. And that lesson is up. So if you want to take a look at it, be my guest. Now, this is just a continuation of Moses speaking to the children of Israel, basically warning them, telling them, hey, when you get into the land that the Lord promised your forefathers, you need to make sure you're obedient to him, because he will not hesitate to kick you out of the land. Just like he's doing these Canaanites with y'all, he gonna do you the same way. If you do the things that the Canaanites did in the land, he gonna kick you right out. And from there, he's going to take you and scatter you in all the kingdoms of the earth. So he's given Israel a clear warning. What we're reading, this is a witness against Israel. So that way, when we get in captivity, like we are now, and we're complaining about our plight, our struggle, we mad as hell for the things that we see happening to us, and we open this Bible up, we can look and see that the Lord was righteous in what he did to us. Because brothers and sisters, from beginning to the end of this book, he has always warned our people, hey, if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm going to judge you, Israel. I don't care if you my people or not. I'm going to get you. And look at us, brothers and sisters. We right here in captivity. Confusion of faces. We don't know how to get out of this mess that we done got ourselves in. Okay, so that lets you know the Lord was true to what he was telling us through our forefathers like Moses and then the other prophets. They warned us, but we didn't listen. Nevertheless, let's go ahead and get into this, guys. Let me get some water before I start. All right. Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 1. And it says, now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments. Because remember, Moses called for all the children of Israel. So he's speaking all of these words in the congregation's ear. And like I said, he's warning them, hey, make sure you be obedient in the land. Okay, so it says, now these are all the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which the Lord your God commanded to teach you. So Moses, like, not me, I am not your God. The Lord, Moses is saying this is coming by way of the Lord your God. And see, that's the problem. We listen to everybody but God, and that right there, brothers and sisters, is why we are on the bottom. So it says, which the Lord your God commanded to teach you, that ye might what? Do them in the land whither ye go to possess it. And it's like I always say, the children of Israel, they love the idea of God, but they don't want to deal with him, brothers and sisters. They don't want to be obedient to him. They don't want to change their wicked ways. They don't want to serve him. They serve him in lip only. And again, that's why we are on the bottom. We like to pretend to be blessed rather than be blessed. Verse 2, it says, Moses says that thou mightest what? Fear the Lord thy God, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee, thou and thy son and thy son's son, all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged. And to summarize that, Moses is basically saying, hey, if you want to live a long life, okay, if you want to dwell on this land a long time, you need to be obedient to the Most High. That's all he's saying, brothers and sisters. However, what's going to keep you being obedient to the Lord was this right here, this word that we always skip over. Fear, that thou mightest fear. And that is the problem with the children of Israel. We do not fear our God. Because the Lord, let's just be honest, especially in this generation, he's been very merciful on us because we came out of chattel slavery. We was going through that terrible Reconstruction era. And I mean just here in America, because that's all I can speak for, brothers. I can't speak for the other brothers and sisters. But at least over here in America, came out of chattel slavery. Then we went through the Reconstruction era, which was terrible. We entered into the Black Codes era. Then from there, Jim Crow, dealing with segregation. All that stuff was brutal, brothers and sisters. Go look at some of them documentaries. Go read some of them books. The stuff that our ancestors had to deal with was brutal. But you notice the Lord, he lengthened the chain for us. He gave us some space to breathe. Not so that we can do evil, but so we can serve the Lord without fear. Okay? You can read now. But you see how I'm reading this Bible? There was a time where our ancestors, we couldn't read. You'll get put to death. So all of these privileges that the Lord has given us, because really he gave us this space from our enemies so that way we can read his word and come back to him. But instead of doing that, Israel out here acting the fool. The women twerking it up, the men thugging it up, impregnating all of these women, leaving our sons and daughters fatherless. And then you got the black men and women in the white power structure just selling their people out, exploiting their own people for gain. Brothers and sisters, the Lord did not give us space so that we can do that ignorance. He gave us space so we can get our head in this right here. That's why he gave us space. So for you wicked Israelites, them saints that you hate, you need to know that these privileges that you got today, it's because of these saints. Because the Lord knew, okay, I got to wake some of my people up, but I can't wake them up if I have them put to death just for reading. Or they're trying to read their Bible at night and the Ku Klux Klan come throwing a Molotov cocktail in their window, lighting their house on fire. So he said, I got to give these Israelites space. But we take that for granted. And look at Israel today, no fear. Israel, we don't even talk about God no more. And then when we talk about God, it's all negative. This sky daddy. What? Excuse me? This same sky daddy is who your ancestors called on to deliver them. That's pure foolishness, brothers and sisters. And don't think that these black people that talk like this are ignorant and they don't know. No, they know. But they're so high off of this cocaine called Babylon that they can't even see straight. They can't think straight because they high off of Babylon. But see, this is what the Lord is getting ready to put back in you, Israel. You need to understand this. He's getting ready to put that fear back in y'all. Y'all haven't experienced the fear of the Lord in a very long time, but you're about to. All you got to do, brothers and sisters, is just look around. Just look around and you can see that the Lord got some bad stuff cooking up for these people. But let's keep reading verse 3. And Moses says, hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it. And so you're not going to just do the Lord's commandments, but you're going to observe to do his commandments. You know what that means? That means, sorry, y'all got to turn my notifications off. It's distracting when I'm trying to teach. Okay. But to observe to do the Lord's commandments, you know what that means? You're always looking to be obedient to the Lord. You're always looking to do the right thing whenever the opportunity arises. Your mind is always set on being obedient to the Lord. How can I be obedient to the Lord? How can I be obedient to him in this situation? Every time you do something, your mind is on pleasing the Lord. Okay. So it says, "Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be" what? "Well with thee." And this is why it's not well with us, because we're not being obedient. It says, "And that ye may increase" what? "Mightily, as the Lord God of thy fathers have promised thee, in the land that floweth with milk and honey." Verse 4, "Hear, O Israel, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord." And you know why? Because it's only one God you ever been dealing with. So we don't deal with that polytheism. You worshiping the God of the harvest. You worshiping the God of the sun, the God of the moon, the God of the trees, the God of the sea. We don't do that stuff. We know the Lord our God is one God. And the reason why the Lord mentioned that right there, because see, the nations, they worship a plethora of gods. The God of the fruits, the gods of the vegetables, the God of fortune, the God of curses. So when you see the nations dealing with that, the Lord like, listen, you're going to know that that's foolishness. All of that stuff is foolishness. Israel, it's only one God. And that one God is over all of that creation. He's over everything. So ain't no worshiping the God of this. One God. Verse 5. Now, this is the most important part right here. "And thou shalt love," this is what Moses is telling the children of Israel. It says, "And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, with all thy soul, and with all thy might." And how do you do that, brothers and sisters? By believing in God and being obedient to him. That's how you show the Lord that you love him. Verse 6, it says, "And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart." So Moses like, don't forget what I'm telling you. Because Israel, when they start prospering and they turn into Jezreel, they get fat and they kick and they forget everything the Lord has done for them, all reason, and go out the window. Well, Moses is telling them, hey, don't forget. Verse 7, don't forget, because your life literally depends on it. You stand in the land literally depends on it. Verse 7, "And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children." So you're going to make sure that you're always teaching your children to love the Lord, to believe in the Lord, to be obedient to the Lord. Because guess what? One day you're going to die. You men, you women, you're going to die one day. And that next generation of Israelites, it's going to be what word am I looking for? I can't find the words, but your children are going to be up next. They're going to be the next generation to move the goalposts on. And so you need to make sure that they're equipped, because your generation can do the right thing, be prospering, love the Lord, but then that generation of Israelites that rise up and they don't know the Lord. Well, guess what? That's not going to stop the Lord from destroying those Israelites and kicking them out the land and putting them in captivity. That's not going to stop him. That's why the Lord say, you need to make sure you're teaching your kids. So when there is because Israel, we're very bad about teaching our children, because we're a very selfish people. And I'll admit, I'm selfish. We are a selfish people, and we have to get over that. We have to work on that. I'm working on that. But we're selfish, brothers and sisters, because we kind of look at things like, hey, as long as I got it, I'm good. Brothers and sisters, that's not love. You need to think about, just because you're not going to be in the future doesn't mean you don't need to prepare for it, or it doesn't mean that you shouldn't arm the next generation with the knowledge to carry the future forward. We don't think about our sons. We don't think about our daughters. That's how Hezekiah was. Hey, long as the evil don't come on me and my generation, I'm good. Brothers and sisters, that's not love. That's not. You should want to see your kids prosper and do well. And more important, rule. You should want to see that for your children. Not just you, oh, I got it, I'm good. What? That's that nigga stuff, brothers and sisters. We ain't supposed to be doing that. Okay? Now, where was I? Okay, yeah, love the Lord with all your heart. Yep, so teach them diligently unto thy children. It says, and shall talk of them when thou sittest in thine house to mind the Lord's commandments, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And so why are you going to always do that? Because children, brothers and sisters, they're impressionable. They hear the things that adults say. They want to copy adults. So guess what? You being all raunchy and ratchet, guess what? The kids that surround you, they don't necessarily have to be your own kids. But it could be that Israelites' neighbors' kids. They see you being raunchy and ratchet, guess what? They want to be raunchy and ratchet. Because we have this excuse too as Israelites. Well, the kids, they too young to learn. Well, them kids ain't too young to learn about sexy red. So they're not too young to learn this Bible, brothers and sisters. That was a shame before God when I seen that video. That the girls was in daycare dancing the sexy red. And I'm like, you know, that right there, that hurt me, brothers and sisters. Because this is what our children have been reduced to. This is the folly of our people. Because these Israelites, they are rebellious and they love mischief. What Aaron said, he said, Moses, you know this people. He said their heart is set on doing mischief. They love doing that which is evil in the sight of the Lord. And then when the Lord busts us across the head with our enemies, then we want to look around confused. You know, why is this happening to us? I don't understand where all this mistreatment coming from. Because you're doing evil stuff like that, Israel. You can't do evil and don't think that the Lord ain't watching. He gonna get you. Okay? You still, these brothers out here, they still gunning each other down. Just gunning each other down over stupid, over shoes, over a woman, over street credit. He think he tougher than me. Stupid stuff, blowing your own brother away. And so you can't think that the Lord gonna just sit back and be like, oh, yep, I'm fine with that. You got brothers and sisters, like I said, in the white power structure, selling out. Just selling out. Don't care. Just look at P. Diddy. Look at how the Lord judged him. He got away doing all that evil for a long time. And I know the Lord sent somebody his way too to warn him. Hey, Diddy, you need to change, man. Sean Combs, you need to change. Because I'm telling you, if you don't, bro, you're going to reap what you sow. But again, our people, they hire for this cocaine called Babylon. They living too good. They going to the best restaurants. They sleeping with all these heathen women. They ain't trying to hear nothing the Lord got to say. And so the Lord got to do what you see him doing to P. Diddy. Then all of a sudden, Israel's eyes open up. Oh, man. Oh, it's too late now. Why y'all wait for it to get down to the wire to want to change? You know, our people, man, we're very reactive. We are reactive people, not proactive. We're reactive. We wait this stuff happen, and then we want to get to moving. You had all this time back here. And I was the same way, brothers and sisters. I was a reactive person. The Lord teaches you to be proactive. You need to stop stuff at the door. You need to handle situations then. Not let stuff fester and build. Handle something right then. Be proactive about stuff. Because Israel, that's what happened in our communities, right? The older generation, they let all of this stuff go by, all this evil black people was doing, and these older people wasn't warning them. Because why? They was living good. They was having a good time. It was just they was just having a good time. And they was letting all of these younger black people do whatever the hell they wanted to do. And they wasn't calling them out. They weren't disciplining them. And so now we are where we at today in our communities. Looking stupid. Now them same young black people, they're older now, and they terrorizing these older black people. And these older black people, they mad as hell. But these black people that's terrorizing you, you got to understand, they're the fruit of your works. So to be mad at them is to be mad at yourself. You ain't got nobody to blame but you. Okay? Now, let's keep on reading because I don't want to keep stopping. Okay, verse 8, it says, "And thou shalt bind them to my God's commandments for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be as frontlets between the eyes." Because I know our people, they used to wear those kind of like a headband, and they used to have those jewels on the front. So naturally, wherever they went, this headband and the jewel went naturally. Well, he said, I want them commandments to be the same way, which is Proverbs chapter 3:3, verse 9. "And thou shalt write them upon the post of thy house and on thy gates." And basically, this is symbology of the Lord through Moses saying, I don't ever want you to forget my commandments, because the day you do is the day I'm going to kick you out the land, and it's going to be great wrath on you. Verse 10, "And it shall be when the Lord thy God shall have brought thee into the land which he sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities, which thou buildest not." Now look at that. The Lord thy God to do what? To give thee great and goodly cities. So who gave it to Israel? Who's giving Israel this land? The Lord is. Israel is not giving themselves this land. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob did not give Israel this land. No, a promise was made to them. God is the one doing the providing. So all of this man worship need to stop. The Lord said, I give you this stuff, Israel. So he said, I'm giving you all this stuff which you build not, and houses full of all good things which thou fieldest not, and wells digged which thou diggest not, vineyards and olive trees which thou plantest not, when thou shalt have eaten and be full. And this is not just as a nation, but this stuff pertains to even your own individual walk with the Lord, because when you walk with the Lord, he's going to bless you, and the blessings, they're going to overtake you. You're going to be so blessed, you're not going to know what to do. But Moses is going to warn Israel about when they're prospering. Verse 12, Moses says, "Then beware, Israel, lest thou forget." Okay. And it's very clear to see that even today in 2024, our people, they forgot, because they doing what? They're eating good. Go to any restaurant they want. They buying brand new cars. They in 2-story houses. They living good. And they've what? Forgotten. "Then beware lest thou forget the Lord, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage." So basically, you forget the Lord that brought you out of slavery. 13, "Thou shalt fear the Lord thy God, and serve him, and shall swear by his name." And Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they feared the Lord and they served him. And I know Abraham, he was so rich. This is how rich Abraham was. I can't remember if it was Abimelech. I can't quite remember. But they were basically saying Abraham had as much wealth as a king. He was everything a king was except in name. So he literally was like a king on this earth, but he just didn't have the title of a king. That's how much the Lord blessed Abraham. But the thing I like about our father Abraham is he never looked at that stuff. He didn't look at riches. He didn't look at the abundance of food. He didn't look at all of the servants he had under him. The thing about Abraham is he believed God. He always kept his eyes on God. Everything else was just a perk. Everything else was just extra. And so we, brothers and sisters, are to follow the example of Abraham. Verse 14 says, ye shall not go after other gods of the gods of the people which are round about you. For the Lord thy God is a jealous God among you, lest the anger of the Lord thy God be kindled against thee, and destroy thee from off the face of the earth. So again, Israel, this is what Moses was telling them at the time. He say, listen, you make the Lord mad. He is prepared to do what? Destroy thee from off the face of the earth. And that's what all our history has consisted of, that right there. Destroyed off the face of the earth. Why? Because we are disobedient and we run after the nations. And it's not, I learned with our people, it's not that the nations are our weakness, but it's the fact that we love sin. We love pleasure. And the nations, they provide sin and pleasure in abundance. And that's why Israel, in our history, that's why they were always over there playing with the nations. Because they provided that sin and they provided that pleasure for our people. That's why our people love the nations so much. Because of that fact right there. You like doing evil, Israel? Great, we provide it. That's how the nations are. Verse 16, it says, ye shall not tempt the Lord your God as ye tempted him in Massa. And what does it mean, tempt? Basically mean rebelling against him. Operating in unbelief. There is nothing, like I said, nothing drives the Lord more crazy than you operating in unbelief. That drives him nuts. And when you don't obey the Lord, guess what? You are operating in unbelief, because you're basically telling the Lord, I don't believe that you're going to do all you said you was going to do to me if I don't serve you. That drives the Lord up the wall. Okay, verse 17. Ye shall diligently keep the commandments of the Lord your God. Again, you're going to always be looking to be obedient to the Lord. Always listening for his voice. How can I be obedient? Every situation, how can I be obedient to the Lord? Because the Lord know, hey man, things can spiral downhill real quick if you don't listen to him. You shall diligently keep the commandments of the Lord your God, and his testimonies and his statutes which he hath commanded thee. And thou shalt do that which is right and good in the sight of the Lord, that it may be well with thee, and that thou mayest go in the land of Canaan, and possess the good land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers, to cast out all thine enemies before thee. And see, this is why our people can't defeat their enemies. This is why our enemies, even to this day, remain among us. Because why? We refuse to be obedient to the Lord. So he letting our enemies stay right here and kick our behind. Verse 20. And when thy son asketh thee in the time to come, saying, what mean the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which the Lord our God hath commanded you? Then thou shalt say unto thy son, we were Pharaoh's bondmen in Egypt. We were Pharaoh's slaves in Egypt. And the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand. And the Lord shewed signs and wonders, great and sore, upon Egypt, upon Pharaoh, and upon all his household, before our eyes. And he also showed those great signs and wonders to show Israel, hey, don't ever forget what I did to Egypt, because what I did to Egypt, I could do to you. And see, that's why you got to fear God. 23. And he brought us out from thence, that he might bring us in to give us the land which he sware unto our fathers. And the Lord commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear the Lord our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, as it is at this day. 25. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God, as he hath commanded us. Meaning what? Believe. Because if you don't believe, brothers and sisters, you're not going to do that. Okay. But let's see. We're going to go ahead and we're going to read through chapter 7. Let's go ahead and complete chapter 7. Okay. Deuteronomy 7 and verse 1. It says, Moses says, when the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and have cast out many nations before thee. Moses gonna say it, but I was gonna say nations that were greater and mightier than us. So it says, when the Lord thy God shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and have cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And again, it don't matter who's weaker and who's stronger. The victor is decided by the counsel of the Lord. And don't you ever forget that. Verse 2. And the Lord thy God shall deliver them before thee. Thou shalt what? Smite them. So who's going to deliver them Canaanites into our forefathers' hands? The Lord is. It said, when he does, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them. Neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter, thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. And if it's written, you already know Israel has done the opposite of what the Lord said. For they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and destroy thee suddenly. And you got to understand, our enemies, brothers and sisters, they've read this Bible. They know what makes our God tick. They know what makes him upset and angry. So this is why they push interracial marriage. This is why they push homosexuality. This is why they push the war between the black man versus the black woman. That's why they push this stuff, because they know these are things that drive the Lord mad. Okay, this is what keeps the Lord destroying us, and they know that, brothers and sisters. Okay, but let's keep going. But thus shall you deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars. So the Lord said, you're going to go in and destroy their altars, break down their images, and cut down their groves, and burn their graven images with fire. You know why? Because the Lord, he don't even want Israel to be tempted. Well, we're going to just leave it up. He said, destroy that junk. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God, separate people. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself. Okay, but you got Christians that get upset when we read stuff like this, like we chose Israel. We didn't choose Israel. The Lord chose Israel. The Lord chose our people. We didn't choose ourselves. Oh, so y'all think, listen, the Lord chose us, and there is nothing you can do about it. He says, the Lord chose you to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. And brothers and sisters, even through the New Testament, that has not changed. He is still going to choose Israel. Now, this fourth beast with his big mouth, that big lion mouth, is running his mouth and telling everybody, the Lord don't deal with Israel. He deals with everybody. Well, in the end, when Christ come back, he going to show these nations, once again, I'm dealing with my people. And you ain't got no choice but to accept it. Verse 7. The Lord did not set his love upon you, nor choose you because you were more in number than any people, for you were the fewest of all people. Excuse me, y'all. Verse 8. But because the Lord loved you, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn unto your fathers. In other words, Israel, there was nothing special about you that made him want to choose you. Okay? Outside of him just loving you and loving your forefathers and keeping the promise that he promised them. That's why he chose you, because he actually genuinely loves you. So the Lord ain't like man. It ain't no favoritism stuff. Ooh, look at all them people. Woo, I got to be the God over this people. He ain't do none of that. The Lord said, in fact, you were the fewest of all the people. He said, no, I chose you, Israel, because I actually genuinely loved you. That's why I chose you. Okay. But let's keep reading. 8. But because the Lord loved you, and because he will keep the oath which he has sworn unto your fathers, have the Lord brought you out with a mighty hand, and redeemed you out of the house of what? Bondage, or house of bondmen, from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Verse 9. Know therefore that the Lord thy God, he is God. What? The faithful God, which keepeth covenant and mercy with them that what? Love him. So he only keep covenant and mercy with them that love him. So he don't with the ones that don't love him. And keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. Even that second covenant. Okay, you want to come up under that second covenant, you must come up under the blood of Jesus, because he's not going to force no Israelite to come up under the blood. You must come up under the blood, under your own free will. Okay. Verse 10. And repayeth them that hate him to their face, to destroy them. He will not be slack to him that hateth him. He will repay him to his face. So you hate the Lord, you're an Israelite, and you call yourself hating God. Guess what? He gonna show you that he hates you. And ain't he doing that with these Israelites out here today in 2024? They show they disdain and their hate and their disrespectfulness to God. Guess what he do? He do the same. He meet them the same. He meet them with the same energy they meet him with. So Israel is doing these things to their own hurt. Verse 11. Thou shalt therefore keep the commandments and the statutes and the judgments which I command thee this day, to what? Do them. 12. Wherefore it shall come to pass, if ye hearken to these judgments, and keep and do them, that the Lord thy God shall keep unto thee the covenant and the mercy which he sware unto thy fathers. And he will what? Love thee and bless thee and multiply thee. He will also bless the fruit of thy womb. So if you be obedient to the Lord, because it's not about the commandments or any of that, it's about being obedient. And if you believe God, which our people don't, we never believe God. If you believe God, you're going to be obedient to him. And so it said he going to love you, he going to bless you, multiply you. He going to bless the fruit of your womb, the fruit of your land, your corn, wine, oil, increase of kine, flocks of thy sheep. It says, in the land which he sware unto thy fathers to what? Give thee. So he like, listen, Israel, I'm prepared to bless your socks off. You see how Israel is struggling today? Listen, overnight the Lord can turn this thing around. But Israel, they just don't want to believe God. They do not want to be obedient. They love sin. They love mischief. Man, I want to serve God because that's how our people are. I want to serve God, but man, I can't get this world up, man. I like doing what I want to do, eating what I want to eat, go where I want to go. I don't want to have to give that up. And so they sacrifice these blessings for temporary gain, temporary pleasure. And it's a shame, brothers and sisters. Verse 14, he says, not only are you going to be blessed, he said, thou shalt be blessed above all people. It ain't going to be no mistaking among the nations of who is the most blessed. Everybody would point to you and say, it's them people, them Israelites in that land right there. They are the most blessed. There shall not be male or female barren among you or among your cattle. Wait a minute. So what's the opposite of that then? So when they are barren, you meaning to tell me that's of the Lord? You are absolutely correct. The Lord controls all that, brothers and sisters. 15. And the Lord will take away from thee all sickness and will put none of the evil diseases of Egypt, which thou knowest, upon thee. And see, look at our people today. Sick. They pack these hospitals out. Now the heathen, they starting to pack them out because them curses slowly pouring on them. But our people, they still pack them hospitals out. They sick, disease, and they messed up. They live like S-H-I-T. You know why? Because they're not obedient to the Lord. I don't care if I'm living in S-H-I-T. As long as I can sin, I can do what I want to do. Hey, I'm willing to suffer. That's how our people think. They would rather suffer. They would rather be brutalized and destroyed than to do thus saith the Lord. Why? Because doing thus saith the Lord is not pleasurable to them. And see, that's when Israel gonna get it. Okay. But he said, hey, I'm gonna put all these evil diseases on you. So you see Israel sick and stuff. Hey, the Lord put that on you. He suffers that to be upon you. Verse 16. Now, I do want to say, not everybody that's got a disease and sick, that don't mean they did evil, brothers and sisters. Sometimes that's just how it is. But we know what we talking about here. We talking about judgment. All right. Verse 16. It says, and thou shalt consume all the people which the Lord thy God shall deliver unto thee. Thine eye shall have no pity upon them, neither shalt thou serve their gods. For that will be a snare unto thee. Not it might be a snare. No, the Lord said it will be a snare unto thee. Verse 17. If thou shalt say in thine heart, these nations are more than I. How can I dispossess them? The Lord says, what? Thou shalt not be afraid of them, but shall well remember what the Lord thy God did unto Pharaoh and unto all Egypt. Because remember, when we was in slavery to Pharaoh under the hand of Egypt, remember, we didn't have a king. We didn't have a military. We didn't have captains. We had no kind of organization or structure. But guess what? The Lord did what? He delivered us. And he destroyed Pharaoh and them without us even lifting a finger, brothers and sisters. And this was wrote for us today because guess what? We are without a king. We are without a government. We are without a military. We are without any type of structure. But yet our enemies, they have kings, prime ministers, popes. They have a gigantic military. They got nuclear weapons. They got stuff that can harm us. But the Lord say, don't worry about all that stuff. Because remember what I did for you in Egypt. Ain't nothing too hard for me. I could destroy these people without you lifting a finger. I will deliver them right into your hands. And when is the Lord going to deliver all these nations into our hands? He going to deliver them into our hands when Christ returns. When Christ returns, that's when our enemies are going to be delivered into our hands, and they not going to be able to do nothing, brothers and sisters. It's going to be a one-sided ass whooping. Okay? And let's keep going. Verse 19. It says, the great temptations which thine eyes saw, and the signs and the wonders and the mighty hand and the stretched out arm, whereby the Lord thy God brought thee out, so shall the Lord thy God do unto all the people of whom thou art afraid. And notice it said, of the people whom thou art afraid. And in our people today, they're afraid of these people, these heathen. They got these big militaries, you know, they got all these kings and princes, presidents, governors, senates. They got all of these things, nuclear weapons. And we think in our mind, man, we're never going to be able to take these people down. Look at these people. They're mighty. Who can make war with this beast? Jesus said, I can. You can't, but I can. So the Lord know that some of you Israelites, you afraid of these people. He know that. He knows some of y'all are afraid of these people because these people can harm you. Because these nations as of right now are greater and mightier than we are. But it don't matter because we've seen in the past what the Lord has done for our people. What he has done to nations that was what? Greater and mightier than us. The Lord delivered them right into our hands. Okay. But let's keep going. Let's see where I left off. 20. Moreover, the Lord thy God will send the hornet among them unto they that are left. Wait, hold on. Moreover, the Lord thy God will send the hornet among them unto they that are left, and hide themselves from thee, be destroyed. 21. Thou shalt not be affrighted at them, okay, or afraid. For the Lord thy God is what among you? A mighty God and terrible. And see, that's the thing. You don't have to be afraid of none of your enemies. You know you serving the Lord. You believe in him. And I'm talking about in your own individual life. You don't have to fear your enemy. I don't care how much money they got. I don't care what kind of crooks they got backing them. I don't care what their title is, how much power they got. You ain't got no reason to be afraid. Because you got the mighty God, the God of all heaven and earth with you. He could speak one word and everybody will be dead. This the kind of God you got with you. He could speak something and it happened. So why would you be afraid, brothers and sisters? You only afraid if you carnal. Verse 22. And the Lord thy God will put out those nations before thee, little by little. Thou mayest not consume them at once, lest the beast of the field increase upon thee. Because whenever there's an absence of humans in the land, that's when animals show themselves. They come out of hiding and they begin to occupy the land. So the Lord didn't want that, because you got lions, leopards, all them carnivorous beasts that come out. So the Lord was trying to stop that. So that's why he said, I'm going to give you the land little by little until y'all got it all. 23. But the Lord thy God shall deliver them unto thee, and shall destroy them with a mighty destruction, until they be what? Destroyed. 24. And you know it's funny? It says, the Lord thy God will put out those nations, to them Canaanites, before thee little by little. Ain't that's what happened to Israel? Remember, we were sinning, doing all of that evil. Remember, our enemies, they began to take more and more, little by little. They kept taking more of our land, more and more and more, until what? We was kicked out and dispersed to the four corners. Well, we seen this happen to the Canaanites first, and then it happened to us. We did evil. Our enemies would come little by little. They just start taking our land, and our people, our people didn't even see it. That's what was happening to them, because they were so fixated on doing evil, doing mischief, that they didn't see little by little their land was being conquered little by little. And like I said, it ended up with us being destroyed and dispersed in the captivity. Verse 24. And he shall deliver their kings into thine hand, and thou shalt destroy their name from under heaven. There shall no man be able to stand before thee, until thou have destroyed them. The graven images of their gods shall burn with fire. Thou shalt not desire the silver or gold that is upon them, nor take it unto thee, lest thou be snared therein. For it is an abomination to the Lord thy God. So we see, boy, the Lord cannot stand idol gods. Verse 26. Neither shalt thou bring an abomination into thine house, to my idol. Two things that drive the Lord mad: faithlessness, or unbelief, and idols. Them are the two things that the Lord seemed to really hate. So neither shalt thou bring an abomination into thine house, lest thou be a cursed thing like it. Because remember, he destroys idols. So if you're going to be a cursed thing like it, you're going to be destroyed. That's what he's telling you. But thou shalt utterly detest it, and thou shalt utterly abhor it. You better not even like it. You better not even look at it like, that look pretty. You better be like, get that mess out my sight. Thou shalt utterly abhor it, for it is a cursed thing. And I hope you guys got some understanding, brothers and sisters. And I will see you in the next chapter. Shalom.